Welcome back to Sharing Our Cultures, and joining me now is Archana Vidyasankar, a psychiatrist practicing here in St. John's, Newfoundland, Labrador. Welcome to Sharing Our Cultures, Archana.
Thank you for having me here today.
It's such a pleasure to have you here. And I know you're in perinatal mental health. So why did you choose that over and above all the other disciplines in medicine?
Absolutely. Well, you know, I grew up in a household that really embraced psychiatry. My father is a psychiatrist. My brother ended up being a psychiatrist as well. And so I knew it was meant for me going through medical school and training. And then, you know, trying to figure out what specialty, where should I focus my interest, my passion, even within psychiatry. And then I had some children.
That did it.
That's what turned me. And you know, I have a wonderful husband, and his training took us to Ottawa, and for his fellowship. And so we had our first child in Ottawa, and you know, it made me realize what a different experience this can be when you don't have that support network, when you don't have that village around you, how sometimes isolating that can feel, not knowing what to do and what's next, and you know, you're kind of left alone with this human being sometimes. So it gave me this perspective on what a new parent may go through in terms of anxiety and mood. And so I started looking into it and thinking, you know, I can't be the only one feeling this types of feeling, you know, after having a baby. So I looked into it, into my training programs, and saw that perinatal psychiatry or reproductive psychiatry is a focus. And so I started to do some training in there. I went back to Ottawa actually to do some more training with a group there in perinatal mental health, and was able to bring that passion back here to Newfoundland and Labrador. And you know, it has blossomed. In the past year, I have been able to focus my practice solely on perinatal mental health, and the referrals keep coming in. You know, the numbers here are unfortunately high for mood and anxiety disorders with young parents. We have some of the highest rates here in Canada, in Newfoundland and Labrador. And I thought, you know, let's bring, you know, the connections here, let's bring the support that they need. And that's what really fueled my passion to go into this.
Okay. And this is really important because many times they'll just say, oh, it's the after baby blues, and everybody just it away, no need to worry. If you fuss, you're just fussing too much. But in reality, they are suffering through that period of anxiety after having given birth to a baby, going through labor and having a baby. It's very real for many new parents. So
absolutely. Around the world, 1 in 4 mothers experience anxiety and depression in pregnancy and in postpartum. And it's the most common obstetrical complication, and we don't talk about it. We don't screen for it, we don't ask, we just assume, like you said, oh, it's just, you know, the baby blues, you'll get over it. Oh, we went through that, you know, you'll go through it as well. So it's oftentimes dismissed. And I don't think we realize the impact that it can have on not only future experiences, but that baby's mental health. Yes. There's more research now on infant mental health because we realize that programming starts while they're pregnant, you know, in terms of how that baby will feel and evolve and manage their emotions. So, you know, in line with research, the practice is growing in this field. And unfortunately, in Newfoundland and Labrador, 28% of new parents experience anxiety and depression postpartum and in pregnancy. Yeah, even higher now with the pandemic.
Yes, yeah,
right?
And social isolation for many of them.
Absolutely,
yes.
Absolutely.
Because I used to think about that when they'd said that, mothers can go into the delivery room but without a companion, you know. There was only one person, so.
Imagine having to labor with a mask on, your partner staying for 4 hours and then leaving, not being able to go to appointments, you know, was a really difficult thing.
Right, yeah. So tell us about the Alliance for the perinatal mental health.
Yes. Yeah. So through my training, you know, in the medical field, there's oftentimes we see this disconnect between community and healthcare systems. And I thought, you know, if we're talking about in our treatment plans, we're talking about exercise and nutrition and, you know, mental wellness, well, then we should know what exists out there in order to say, well, hey, there's a group here that does that, or, you know, there's a mom and baby group that exists, and why don't we connect you. So, you know, when I came back to Newfoundland, I realized there are so many silos. There are so many organizations, community organizations, healthcare organizations that work with young parents, but nobody knows about each other.
Yeah.
You know, whether they're, you know, midwives in Central, or doulas, or family resource centers, Choices for Youth programs. You know, they have great programming, but nobody knows about each other. So that what, you know, really made me interested in connecting all of those silos. And I started meeting with different individuals who are also passionate about perinatal mental health, and said, we have to do something about this. We have to create this change and connect everybody together. And so over the last few years, we've been able to develop the Perinatal Mental Health Alliance of Newfoundland and Labrador. I say it's a really long word, but we do a lot of great work, and we're in our infancy. So we are growing as an organization, but our goal, you know, is to help connect, help information share, and make sure that people are aware that people are out there, groups are out there to help support young parents. We've done some great online events and forums as well when the pandemic was not in our presence. And, you know, we have some really great goals to create systemic change in the province and really change the culture of mental health, but also especially perinatal mental health, and really support the young families. That's what it's all about here. You know, there's a lot of talk about the health accords and changing our healthcare system and delivery. And, you know, we really want to focus on where it really starts. It begins in pregnancy, it begins in that infancy. And if we can catch, create, and support young families there, I mean, that will change the lives for generations.
I totally agree, because in some areas, sort of the breastfeeding, they've been able to do a lot of work in terms of connecting mothers with other breastfeeding mothers, helping mothers express their milk and have it prepared for their children if they have to be away. So it can be done. I mean, there's a model already that exists.
Absolutely.
You know, so that's really important, because I sometimes also think of newcomers who are new to the province and mothers, and English is not their first language, and then they're in the hospital and they need support. So it's usually very, you know, difficult for them to create that support that you're talking about.
Absolutely, it's true. It's so isolating, like we were talking about, especially coming from a different background, different culture, not only trying to find other people to share that culture, but, you know, we come with different beliefs, you know, and we oftentimes leave culture that has that support in place. You know, we have our mothers and our grandmothers and aunties that will help support that breastfeeding, or, you know, provide rest and care. And so for a lot of the newcomers here, it's hard to talk about, express. You know, it's mental health in general is not talked about. So a lot has to change here, and we're really hoping to move some of that along.
Okay. And so with the Alliance, then, that's mainly more with organizations? Okay.
Yeah.
And how do people in the community, then, individual parents, connect?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we're still, you know, figuring out what membership looks like, what the organization looks like. We want to create this shared space that, you know, individuals and families can connect with organizations, but also organizations can connect with each other. You know, so they can be aware of, you know, what the family resource centers are doing and the midwives are doing, who the doulas are that are out there that can provide that support, but also connect those individuals. So currently on our website, we have a list of resources, professional tools, but also the resources for young parents that list, you know, who is out there doing therapy, who is out there doing a mom and baby group, what are some online kind of mindfulness or meditation tools that can help in this time. So our goal is to connect, really.
Right, and that's great, because if there's just one place that they can go, as you say, it's your website, and they can find all these resources, that would be a lot more effective for them, in terms, instead of them going to different places. Oh no, we don't do this, but we do that. Or go check this other place, because that's sometimes what happens when you don't have that one place that they can go to and look at all these resources.
Absolutely. And you think about the size of Newfoundland and Labrador and the geographical diversity here. So we can have people from Corner Brook and Labrador still connect with people and organizations that are doing work online or through virtual care and support and not feel so isolated. So it's a provincial plan that we have. We have some goals to, approach government as well to create some change. So we're excited.
Okay, yes, I'm excited for that as well, because I do know some young parents who really, particularly if they're new, some of them come here and they're in their second or third trimester, and then they're struggling, not only just being a mother that's expecting a baby, but also a mother expecting a baby in a country where it's very unfamiliar and the language is not the same. So that's all that adds to the anxiety and depression that they experience. So I'm really happy that that's an area in which you're working and helping here. Okay, so we're going to be right back, and we will talk some more about Archana's work and look at what it's like for the South Asian community here. Welcome back to Sharing Our Cultures, and we'll continue chatting with Archana about her work and about what it is to be a South Asian young person here in Canada. So let's start off with that.
Yes, yeah. Growing up South Asian, South Indian particularly, in different parts of Canada. So actually my parents moved from South India to England, for more education opportunities. And so me and my brother were born there. We moved to New Brunswick and lived there for 5 years, St. John actually. And then after 5 years, we moved to Ontario. And there we grew up in London. And, no matter where we went, it was really important for our family to connect with other people from our culture, And I think when it comes to smaller cities and centers, it didn't matter where you were in India or where you were from, you were still South Asian, you were still Indian, you're still connected. And so we grew up in a fantastic community in London, Ontario. My parents helped, with a lot of the organization in terms of the associations there for South Asian culture, very involved with the temple community there. And so, it was really important for them to instill in us those values of tradition and culture that, they had moved so far away from home, from India, and it was so important to them. So it was always a balance, with activities, going to temple, going to piano class, learning South Indian dancing, Bharatanatyam. So it was a delight. I don't think I would have changed anything. And it was great to grow up in London. It's in a way similar to St. John's. And, a small enough city, but Toronto was there for us, travel was there for us, and the community was so strong and so supportive. And when you leave, cultures where your aunties and uncles are in India, everyone else becomes that family. And it really, truly took a village to raise myself and my brothers. So we're so grateful.
Okay. And of course, moving to St. John's, you've also got the Hindu temple here. Absolutely. And you have the Friends of India Association as well. I think there may be some other groups as well. So were you able to connect with those, and what was that
actually,
like?
When I came here for my first rotation in medical school, it was during our big festival of Diwali. And so I was able to go to the temple and celebrate with everybody there. And it was so warm and welcoming, and I knew that this was a very positive community. I didn't know I would end up here quite yet.
You hadn't met him yet.
I hadn't met the one yet, but it felt so natural. And so over the last 10 years, it's been a great honor to be a part of the community here, be a part of the temple organization, attending the festivals as much as possible during a pandemic as well, and continuing that culture for our children as well.
Right. So now your children are here, this school age yet? Yes? Okay, yes. So what's that like for them? Because probably they might be in a school where they might be the only South Asian children, or maybe very few diversity in the school. How do they navigate that, and how do you negotiate that with them?
It's interesting. These are the conversations you're not taught about parenting, is how to talk about culture and, you know, have those conversations where they may be the only one with brown-colored skin in their class, and there's a lot more conversations about, you know, ethnicity, racism these days, growing up from different cultures. So we've had to have those conversations a bit earlier than I think I would have liked to, but it's important, you know, and I think for them to recognize that we are from a rich culture, that we want to bring our own, you know, festivals and traditions. So it's interesting balancing Christmas and, you know, Easter with our Diwali and our ceremonies or pujas that we do throughout the year. And, you know, some times of the years is a lot busier than others, you know. Halloween and Diwali sometimes come together. So, but it's important. It's very important for us.
Yeah, so they're kind of getting the best of both worlds in a way, you know. They're keeping their Asian culture as well as the local culture.
Absolutely. There's a lot of sweets involved in both cultures, I'm realizing.
Yes. So with the students that we work with mostly, well, they're mostly high school students, and we try to expose them to various role models, you know, mentors, to help them, particularly if they're new here, as you said, that they're here without the aunties and the uncles they can look up to, and, you know, but we say the whole village raises the child, right? The whole community. So we're exposing them to people in various walks of life and various professions, and we encourage them to pursue and to aspire to whatever is their passion that they want to go. So I'm thinking, when they listen to you and you've achieved so much, how would you encourage them? I mean, if they were thinking, because as you say, mental health is important to everyone, and if they want to pursue psychiatry, for example, or any other medical profession, what would be your recommendation? Would you suggest to them?
Absolutely. I would say that, you know, if you're looking for, if you are interested in really learning about an individual, their whole background, their history, their childhood, their experiences, mental health, psychology or psychiatry is really a great way to understand and help and support an individual. You know, mental health is very, you know, it's a lot more talked about now than it was back in the day. Sometimes maybe a little bit too much. Sometimes we have to keep up with it and go into those professions that we can help support people who are going through difficult times. And, you know, in terms of the career path for psychiatry or medicine, it's a long road. It's a very long road. It can take you in different places. I did my undergraduate in Waterloo. I went to medical school in the Caribbean. I did my rotation in Chicago and ended up in Newfoundland and Labrador. So you never know where life is going to take you. But, you know, work hard and stay motivated, because there are going to be a lot of hard times. There are going to be times where you don't do as well as you would like, or not get the rotation or marks that you would like. But, you know, having faith, having hope, and listening to your parents once in a while. I owe everything to my parents. I do. So, you know, working hard and being passionate, finding that piece that, you know, you want to make a difference in, that you can see when people change and how they improve. Medicine is full of those opportunities, which is great, but so is, you know, counseling and psychology, and going into mental health in general. You can change the outcome for families and parents and children. So it's a great area to go into.
Okay, thank you. That's really, they'll be listening to that. And so during the pandemic, you were able to support a lot of the physicians and other medical professionals. Now tell us about that and what motivated you to to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was kind of spontaneous. So I started a physician peer support group because, you know, we were all of a sudden stuck with these decisions and had this heavy responsibility on, you know, how to change our practice, what we're going to be facing in terms of healthcare facilities, exposure. A wonderful mentor of mine in Ottawa actually started a physician peer support group nationwide. Her name is Dr. Mamta Gautam, and it inspired me to say, you know, in Newfoundland and Labrador, we're on a different time zone. We have some nuances, so I said, you know, what would it be like to start a physician peer support group for our physicians? And with her blessing and support, I was able to start a weekly session here, and, you know, made some difference. And it was really great to see physicians connecting in a way that, again, with the geography here, is so hard to do, you know? So we had people coming in from all over and being able to share their experiences, because the pandemic was hard for so many people, including frontline professionals and healthcare providers. So it was very you know, nice to see people connect over that shared passion and impact that they were going through.
So with this then, were people or physicians from outside of St. John's then, did they participate in this as well? Are they part of this as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we had people connect every week, every Wednesday night it was going on, just until recently actually.
Okay.
It was people, we had family physicians, we had specialists from Corner Brook, from Labrador, Clarenville, St. John's as well, and it crossed many boundaries, many barriers, many highways and roads. It was picked up by the NLMA, which we were really excited about too, so they were supportive of it too.
Okay.
And so we're hoping to, you know, restructure a lot of the physician wellness and health in our province, because we realize we're up against, you know, a very challenging healthcare system, and being connected to one another will go a long way.
Right. Yes, I would see something like this actually continuing, because most times they don't have the support from each other because everybody's so busy. And I know there is a shortage of health professionals here, healthcare professionals here as well, so that increases the pressure on the existing professionals to deliver, to meet the patients, and particularly when you had to, everyone had to isolate. So how did that affect your practice then?
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about school closures with young children. That was interesting.
Right.
It made for some interesting Zoom calls. But you know, it's important to connect and continue to deliver the care the best way that we can. As physicians, we feel that responsibility. The system is difficult, and it is getting difficult with people who don't have family physicians, who aren't able to get that care. Many of us turned to virtual care options, and it was a whole new way of delivering medicine for quite some time, and it wasn't easy. Not only are we carrying the burdens of trying to work from home and manage, you know, partners and children, but also take on the responsibilities of our patients and the emotions of our patients, and so it was a lot for a long time.
Right, because they were struggling as well, and then they couldn't have that face-to-face contact with you, which is really important. I know you can do a virtual examination, but being able to be face-to-face with your physician or healthcare provider makes a big difference.
Absolutely, and there are barriers to virtual care. Not everybody has internet or Wi-Fi or even a reliable phone. You know, we're talking about underprivileged, you know, populations that don't have some of these, what we would take for granted sometimes. So there were a lot of obstacles that I think came to light during the pandemic that we may not have focused on previously.
Okay. And what do you think would be some of the solutions to
a few. There's a few things we could do, and I mean, I think the recruitment, you know, of new physicians into this province, to be able to show them that this is a system that can work. We not only need family physicians, but we need specialists as well. You know, it's and we need you know, nurse practitioners. We need doulas and midwives in my area. We need more people to support these young families too. too. You know, we also need the support from the government, and to say that, you know, we see you, we respect you, we see how hard this is, what can we do to help you? And so there are some conversations which we're grateful for in terms of reforming the health care, but it's a long journey and there's a lot that needs to be done.
Right, and we do need more of you. Many more of you and Quaicoe and many that here, because I think it will relieve the stress that you have, because there's some physicians couldn't take any more patients, and so that's difficult, and then means makes it difficult for everyone. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. But we're so happy that you've chosen to stay in this province and provide your expertise for prenatal care, mental health care. So we really do appreciate that, and I'm so glad that you were able to come and join us in conversation today. It's really been a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really my honor. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sharing Our Cultures will be right back. Thanks to Dr. Archana Vidyasankar and to you for joining us today. Join us again next time on Sharing Our Cultures.
If you want convenience, Marie's Mini Mart is here for you. A one-stop shop for a variety of products, home-style breads, sandwiches, plus check out our freshly baked artisan breads and single-serve desserts exclusively at our in-store bakery on Frecker Drive. With 25 locations, wherever you go, there we are.
If you have a comment about this program, we'd love to hear it. Email or call us, or send us your feedback through social media.
This is when the fun starts.
All right, let's get started.
You would need to let me take over.
Whoa, Nelly!
You're not done.
Hey!
Welcome to season 2 of Canada's Drag Race!
I can see things that your people can't.
It was our 35th anniversary. To celebrate, we were honored